السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل يا عبادي الذين آمنوا اتقوا ربكم للذين أحسنوا في هذه الدنيا حسنة وأرض الله واسعة إنما يوفى الصابرون أجرهم بغير حساب. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
مؤمنين ومؤمنات brothers and sisters, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالزهراء فاطمة عليها السلام. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts and make our rewards great. We remember and commemorate the martyrdom of the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. In this very sad occasion, an occasion to be remembered by humanity until the day of judgment. And the sad part is how low humanity was willing to go. For her, it was martyrdom. For her, it was the greatest victory. Oftentimes, people ask this question: why do we consider the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the martyrdom of Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha, why do we consider it sad when it is their greatest victory to be a martyr, to seal the book of their deeds and the book or the chapter of life or life in this world, to seal it and finish it with martyrdom, the greatest sacrifice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a great victory for them. The grief is because we don't have them. The grief is because as human beings we lost them. The grief is because as human beings the human society went as low and as far away from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as it could be even imagined. To the point that killing a soul is as if you kill the entire human being. من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. A soul. How about the soul that the secret behind the creation of this universe is around this core? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares that the ones whom He created this universe for is the Prophet and his family. However, the declaration in Hadith al-Kisa as we recite is Hum Fatimatu وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. She is the core. Fatima, her father, her husband, and her children. Salamullah alayha. This is Fatima, and human beings were willing and capable of losing or causing harm to this individual, to the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because she spoke out about the right of her husband and her rights and the right of the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Perhaps because she came out and said, "A'lamu anni Fatima." She came out to the masjid when they took her rights and the rights of her husband. She came out and said, "I want you to know that the spokeswoman here is Fatima." And then she says, وَأَبِي مُحَمَّدْ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ اللهم صل على محمد وعلى. I want you to know that I am Fatima. Meaning what? I am the one who the Prophet continued to remind you about my rights. My name is known. All I need to say is, I am Fatima. The same name that some of those who were told to attack the house of Fatima salamullah alayha were reminded of, or some of those who were told, they said to the one who was giving the command and saying, "I will burn the house of Fatima," they said to him, "Do you not realize that in the house there is Fatima is in that house? Inna fiha Fatima. This house you're threatening to burn, in it is Fatima salamullah alayha." Tonight, speaking of Fatima salamullah alayha, we're speaking of a great loss. We're speaking of a night that should be remembered and commemorated. At the same time, we want inspirations, we want lessons. So I want us to reflect on one of the best lessons that we could learn from Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. The lesson she taught very well to her daughter Zainab salamullah alayha. Many of you, when you speak of Zainab salamullah alayha, you bring up and you remember titles like the Jabal al-Sabr, the mountain of Sabr, patience and persistence. You remember titles about Zainab salamullah alayha regarding her Sabr. The source of her Sabr were her parents, none other than Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha, her mother, and obviously her father, Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. Fatima salamullah alayha displayed one of the best examples of sabr. And I mentioned before, sabr is not to be translated as patience only. Perhaps the term patience is short of the meaning sabr. Sabr also entails a level of persistence, meaning you're patiently and persistently remaining on the path. That is sabr. And that is what we see in the character of Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. Enduring the pain and all the harm that was brought to her by the ummah of her grandfather, of her father Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yet steadfast on the path and never ever becomes weak. Her position is not only to sit back and do nothing. No. Not only to speak. In fact, Fatima is a role model for all activists. If if you want to learn and have an example of being an activist, one who speaks out, protests, stands against the oppressors no matter how powerful they are, you can learn from Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, the daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala. In her speeches, I mentioned when she came out and gave her fiery speech. In her speech in the masjid, although the speech is referred to as fadak, perhaps one of the excuse that she came out and spoke through was the fact that they usurped her right of fadak. However, and the position towards her husband, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Imam of the time, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. And she spoke about how they were deviating from the school of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That is one example. Is that it? Again, tonight I want to keep it short. We have another majlis tomorrow night, inshallah, and we'll elaborate further. When we speak of activism, it's not just words. If somebody speaks about oppression, about oppressors, and as soon as they have a little threat from the oppressors, they no longer are willing to speak, that's not activism. If somehow your wealth, your health, your perhaps job securities that you perhaps consider significant, if they are threatened by your speech and therefore you sit back and quiet, that is not activism. If we look at Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, she gives us the best example. A lady in Islam is to be protected. A lady in Islam has no responsibility of going to the battlefield and fighting. She can speak, but if she feels threatened, she has all rights to say nothing and do nothing. In Islam, she is completely excused. It is the role of men to defend women. In Islam, men have the responsibility of defending their family. And this is perhaps a common character in all of the healthy humanity. And I say healthy for a reason, because they want to change that as well. We abolish all the roles, all the differences, to the point that she has to protect him, or I don't know, they have to protect them. You know, no more she, no more he. Wal-hayadu billah, subhanallah. In Islam, it's very clear. Men have to protect their women. However, it does not mean that she's not allowed to speak out or to act. Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, she realized that they're coming to take her husband and some of the men who were sitting and staying in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, seeking refuge in that household so that they don't give the bay'ah, a forced bay'ah that was taken at that time. They did not want to give it. They sought refuge to the house of Fatima Salamullah alayha. She clearly heard all the warnings, all the threats, to the point that she realized that they're about to enter the house. At that point she could have completely gone back but no, that's not Fatima. She was there defending her house and defending the Imam salawatullah wa salam alayhi. You may ask why. I don't want to get into the details of how did it happen. Did Imam Ali alayhi salam hear or did he not hear? Perhaps he was in a section of the house that he did not hear them coming, because his house had two doors, a door to the masjid and a door to the street. The only door to the masjid that the Prophet did not close besides his was the door of Imam Ali alayhi salam. وَسَدَّ الْأَبْوَابَ إِلَّا بَابًا. Perhaps he was in the side of the masjid. Nevertheless, she could have called him. Historically, there is absolutely no record of her calling for help from her husband. She could have, but that's not. She wanted to defend that position and oppose and stand against the oppressors. That is her activism. She stood there, did not go back, did not have fear, to the point that she was harmed and she had a miscarriage there. Salamullah alayha. From the broken ribs to the miscarried Muhsin. Salamullah alayha. This was the position of Fatima, setting fire on her house, on the door of her house, and pushing the door against her, harming her. Even then, historians mention that she called to who? Someone, a lady in her household, to help her. She called Fidda. She said, Fidda, come and help me. Even in that position, she did not want to put any hardship or even have her husband witness what she was going through. And historians are clear, when he noticed and he realized, he came forward and he said, you guys would not have ever dared doing so if you did not know about the Prophet telling me to keep my sword in its shield. You would not have dared coming into my house. Salamullah alayha, an example of persistence, patience and persistence for all the believers until the last moments of her life. Did her pain afterwards, and these are examples in the life of Fatima for all of us, mothers, people who are going through difficult times. Some of the mothers in this part of the world, or in today's day and age, they have to struggle. Educational systems are not ideal. Mothers have to put a lot more time and effort to make sure they protect their children from many things, many waves that are coming their way. There is a lot of jihad in there, a lot of struggle. And our mothers have to strive, families have to strive. Let's learn from Fatima. Despite all the hardship, from the time of being in Sha'b Abi Talib and her mother's martyrdom, Khadija salamullah alayha, from then until the days of the martyrdom of her father, she was there by his side. She was the one giving him comfort, comforting her father, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then afterwards comforting her husband, Amirul Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi. One of the poets in Farsi, he puts it beautifully. He says that with your martyrdom, O Fatima, the smile, farewell to the smile of Amirul Mu'mineen. Amirul Mu'mineen cannot have a smile after the farewell and the martyrdom of Fatima salamullah alayha. She was his comfort and the comfort of the children. Tonight I want to take you to the time, despite her pain, knowing that these were her last hours, she says to Fidda, I want to take care of my daughter and my children. She helped her children, bathed them, cleaned them. She was combing the hair of Zainab salamullah alayha. Why? Perhaps lessons, many lessons. She is teaching her daughter Zainab how to be strong in difficulties, for her family, for the children. The Zainab that would eventually have to be in the land of Karbala, caring for all the orphans of Imam Hussein and Imam Hassan and the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She was preparing her from them. moments of the life of Fatima, Sallallahu alayha, that Fidda narrates some of it, Asma narrates some of it. She says to them, she had her own ghusl and cleansed and cleaned herself well. Then her children prepared them, took care of their affairs, and then said to the woman in her house, allow me to go now into prayers and resting, and then call me. If you hear my response, then I am still with you. If you don't hear my response, then you should know that I have departed this world. Sallallahu alayki ya bid'ata Rasulillah wa qurrata ayni. She started calling her, oh daughter of Rasulullah, oh Zahra, oh Fatima. She called and called, did not hear a response. She said to the children, Ya Hassan, Ya Hussein, go to the masjid, call upon Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali. Tell him, perhaps this is the farewell with Fatima. The children ran to the masjid with tears in their eyes. Amir al-Mu'mineen could guess from their tears. Oh, Father, what is it? It is Allah and Fatima. Amir al-Mu'mineen, the lion of the battlefield. He walked towards the house, yet he stumbled and fell. Amir al-Mu'mineen cannot have his balance, knowing that he's lost his Fatima. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. يا الله إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعدها وبنيها وبالسر المستودع فيها استجب دعواتنا يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلبي على دينك. ثبت قلوبنا على دينك يا الله. Make us steadfast on the path towards you, upon your religion, Ya Allah. Mu'mineen and mu'minat in difficulty anywhere in the world, those who are unwell, those who under tyrants and oppressors, Ya Allah, grant them the quick relief and victory, Ya Allah. mu'mineen and mu'minat who have departed from our gatherings. Grant them abundance of your mercy, Ya Allah. Grant us our legitimate hajat, Ya Allah. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات الشهداء والصالحين، إلى أرواح موتى الحاضرين الباذلين المؤسسين. رحم الله من قرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة تحفها صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.